The 6 metrics you must know to make a profit. Welcome to episode 210 of the Marketing for Owners podcast with me, John, where I help business owners like yourself and like me, because this all teaches me as well, everything you need to know to make your life easier to get more sales and to make it less stressful getting those sales. It's not as tough as you think. But today we're talking about metrics. To decide on your prices, to know your profits, to know how much you can spend, everything, you need certain metrics. There's tons of them, but there are 6 main ones you need to know. So grab your pen, because this is the weekend challenge. We have one every single Friday, and they're always easy, don't you worry. First item, profit margin. Obviously, you need to know your profit margin, but it's very important to know the difference between a profit margin and the markup, right? Margin or markup. I'll give you an example. The profit margin relates to the selling price. The markup relates to the buying price. So if you sell something for buy something for $100 and sell it for $200, right? That is so you pay 100, buy it, sell it for 100, so you make half profit. Yeah, it's a 50% profit margin. However, in relation to the buying price, you paid $100, you sold it for $100 more. That is a 100% markup. If that product was being sold for $300 and it cost $200 to buy, therefore you're paying 200, making 100 profit. That's 1/3 profit margin, or 33.333%. However, as a markup, you paid 200, you added $100 on it to make 300. That's a 50% markup. I hope that makes sense. But it's very important to know, I have a friend who mixed up those figures when he knew he had to make a third markup. I think he was working on the margin, and his business almost went under because he did not understand the difference before it was too late. Luckily he caught on and does very well now. But it's a simple mistake. It's also it would be very helpful if you have varying profit margins on different products or services. You're going to have a higher profit margin on a service, but make sure you're including the labor costs. Know your figures, please. Next one, conversion rates. Now that means, so for every so many actions, how many of them were successful? So for every 100 people that land on your website, 2 of them buy something. That's a 2% conversion rate. Now, if you're not in e-commerce, you probably think, ooh, that's not many. But in actual fact, it is the average number. That's because a lot of people come looking for other things that Google throws a search result up for, and it wasn't you, so they're off. Or they're just looking for information. Didn't want to buy anything. Maybe they'll come back later. Something like that. But you can have a conversion rate for how many people come and opt into your opt-in form. For instance, how many people see your opt-in landing page, how many people complete it. In a normal office, you may be doing telesales. You may be getting leads by phoning people. So for every 100 calls, you may get 20 appointments. That's a 20% conversion rate. So it's important to know conversion rates of activities that are important in your business. Okay, and of course, if you can increase those conversion rates, so if you know it's 20% on the appointments, how about if you could get it to 25%? How about if you could get it to 30? Okay, how about if you could get it to 21? It doesn't take a lot. You can work on things. Next one, segment conversion rate. So exactly the same as I just explained, but from different traffic sources. So for instance, your conversion rate from say paid traffic, say Google AdWords, that's going to be highest because hopefully you're targeting your keywords higher, against your conversion rate from organic traffic. Now that means the free search results in, say, Google, and that's where people may have been looking for just information to help them with their university project or some research for school. And your site was a great resource, had no plans on buying anything, so therefore the rate is very likely to be lower. But then it's great to know your conversion rate from social media or your conversion rate from your salespeople on the ground if you have such a piece, that kind of thing. Knowing the different conversion rates from different sources or segments means that if one isn't working and one is working brilliantly, you can do more of the one that's working brilliantly. That's what I'd recommend. And you can also work on the one that isn't doing so well. What can each learn from each other? Cost per acquisition. And again, through all these rates, so for instance, if you're phoning for an appointment, then sending someone around and then phoning to close the sale, how much does all that cost to actually get a sale? If you're selling to people via webinars, perhaps you pay for a Facebook ad. Perhaps of every 100 people that sign up for the webinar, only 20 of them turn up. And then of those 20 that turn up, 10% buy something. So for every $5 or $10 you spent on a Facebook ad, that one sale, to get that one sale, you've had to get 100 people in at, so that's $1,000, and you got one sale. Let's hope that sale is worth more than $1,000. But it's good to know your cost per acquisition. It's going to be different for different channels, because then once you know what it costs to acquire a customer, you know how much you can spend to get some more and try it elsewhere. Yeah, that's why that's important. And of course, all these things you can always work on to make them better. Next one, customer retention rate. You are going to spend all that effort getting a customer. Why not try and keep them? Now, in mobile phone companies or cell phone companies, they talk about churn, customer churn, and big organizations like that, because they have a rate of customers that leave. Now, they try and reduce their customer churn rate, but I would say increase your customer retention rate, because that's more positive. So if you have a membership site, a website for instance, you may find that on average you pay a monthly fee, they pay a monthly fee, and on average they stay for maybe 3 months. What can you do to make them stay for 4 months or 5 months? Perhaps more personal contact, perhaps a community manager who speaks to the members and checks out that they're getting value from everything. Perhaps more face-to-face Google Hangouts and webinars and Q&A sessions and office hours. Anything that gives them more value to make them want to stay longer. So if they're getting value, they'll stay. If they feel they're getting value, they will stay, perhaps. Now, customer lifetime value. This is the last one. This is so important. Successful marketers will know how much their customer is worth over a lifetime. People who start from scratch have no idea, so have to use some judgment. But for example, say your average sale is $100. However, every third customer, 1 out of 3, is likely to buy more than once. And you find that they will buy on average every 4 months. And their average order is around the same. So your average, your customer lifetime value is all of those figures added. So you take so instead of it being $100 that first sale, if you can keep that customer for a year, he's bought every 4 months. So he buys on day 1, month 4, month 8, month 12. He buys 4 times in a year. He spent $400. Now, you can go ahead and, of course, you can say, well, what if he spends it for 10 years? But we just want a sensible figure, maybe project 2 years ahead. But what this means is that you can spend enough based on him ordering twice. So you could spend and lose all profit on that first order. You can spend that to acquire that customer. Remember, acquisition rate. Because you know that 1/3 of customers are going to come back and buy again and again and again. So if you know the customer lifetime value and how many become repeat customers, you can work out how much you can afford to spend to acquire them. And that's a very smart statistic to know. In fact, direct mailers and internet marketers, that is one of the most important statistics, because many of them will actually spend more to advertise and acquire that first sale, to make a loss on the first sale, knowing that they'll make it on what they call the back end, further sales to that person. Now these will all be written out. Hopefully you wrote them down on your pad, but these will all be written out in the show notes. And to get to that, go to marketingforowners.com/podcast/210, which is the episode number. That is the same for every episode. You'll also find that every single weekend challenge is listed on the website under the great tools thing in the menu at the top. So you can find all the previous ones. But this is going to be important. If you know these figures, this will improve your company's health and may open your eyes to some things that are good, some things that need improvement. I'm sure it helps. Now, if you do like the show and you like to give a rating, if you go to marketingforowners.com/free book, there is a method that shows you how to subscribe, how to review, and if you do, we may give you a little something for free. Go to that page, see what it says, and grab yourself a freebie. And I'll speak to you next week. Have a great weekend.